You're diving into the new year and you've decided that 2025 is finally going to be the year that you get your health and your fitness in check. You're going to take the proper steps that you need in order to clean up your diet, get your fitness in check, start to feel better, look better, all those things that we want. Except there's one problem. There's too much goddamn information out there. If you go on any website now to look up diets and fitness and all that stuff, you're going to be met with carnivore diet this, keto diet that. It's really confusing to understand what is exactly like the key to losing weight or gaining weight, depending on what you're trying to do. And while I strongly believe that we should do our research in order to figure out what's best for our goals for our own bodies, many people, like myself, love the guidance to the starting. We want to be told a template, hey, just do this, and then give me the opportunity to kind of pick and choose and change what I want to make it more for myself. Well, that's what I've done. In this video, we're going to talk about a meal plan that is absolutely suited for anyone trying to get into their fitness goals, especially in the context of losing weight. My name is JP. I'm a certified nutritionist and personal trainer, and through trial and error, I was able to lose 70 pounds. And what I learned is that dieting can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be. And then if we make decisions that fit our lifestyle more, it'll be way more sustainable in the long run, a way to actually lose weight and make it fun. Because for a lot of people, including myself, dieting feels like a daunting task, and a lot of that is just because you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. I'm going to show you 3 meals: a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. Super easy to make, super cost effective, has all the things that you want out of a proper diet, and can be modified super easily, because that's a big thing, being able to modify it to fit your lifestyle. So let's get into it. Now, a couple of notes before I get started. In these recipes, you're going to see me using like condiments and sauces and things like that. However, I didn't include the sauces inside of the macros, but let me explain. I feel like a lot of dieting, you need a lot of variety in order to keep it interesting. And variety is going to come in seasonings and in sauces. So I think it makes more sense for me to kind of lay out meals just as ingredients and then allow you to kind of pick and choose the sauces that you want. Some people prefer spicy, some people prefer sweet. Some people don't want to make changes and do low calorie sauces. They rather just do the sauces that they like, but at lower amounts. Some people look for sauces like myself that are super low in calories, that way they can use them in high volumes. Everyone has a different thing they like to do. So it makes more sense for me to just show you the meals kind of sauceless, or rather explain them sauces. There's definitely going to be sauces on the videos and kind of talk you through that. Also, yeah, this is under the assumption that you're going to be cooking. So if you're going to come in here and go like, well, I don't have time to cook. Well, it's like, well, then you didn't have time to do any of this. Why are you even watching this? But that's neither here nor there. Let's get started. So the first one's going to be an egg sandwich. Egg is one of the most powerful items, especially when it comes to losing weight. It's high in protein and high in a lot of good vitamins. The cholesterol and fat, don't be afraid of that. Those things are good for you. You want those in your diet. So firstly, my suggestion to you is that if you're going to make eggs, use a non-stick pan. Like you can use a stainless steel pan, you can use all these other things. But for me, I keep a non-stick pan because I just believe it's easier to make eggs on them. That's just me. For this recipe, you're just going to crack 2 eggs. Now, obviously, like I said before, you're going to be kind of catering differently depending on your size. But for me, 2 eggs is plenty. What I typically like to do is kind of put the eggs in a little bit of a bowl. Something to help with the cooking is that you add a little bit of water because the steam will help keep them very fluffy. I guess this is for kind of fluffy scrambled eggs. And I typically like to do a little bit of salt just for, I don't know, I add the salt later, but I like to do it as well. And then you're just going to whisk. You're going to whisk until you get a liquidy texture, like a creamy liquidy texture. Should kind of look something like this, very liquidy. You don't want to get all the chunks out. You want to make sure that it's purely just the, I'm saying liquid so many times. And obviously kind of make the pan hot while you're whisking the eggs happening at the same time. Be smart with your time. Also, when you're heating the pan low, the best way to cook eggs is kind of a low motion. And I'll show you in this clip. When you have the pan on a low heat, you're just going to add the eggs. And what you want to do is just constant motion, but slowly, kind of ripping them off from the sides. Of course, my camera doesn't want to focus. The idea here is that you just kind of keep going until you see that fluffy texture. It should really only take about 2 or 3 minutes. Also, if you want it to be on actual toast instead of white bread, I would suggest toasting it while you're cooking the eggs. Now for the bread, we're going to use a 647 bread. Now there's a lot of low calorie bread options out there. I personally like 647. I think they taste like the least dry and more like bread. Plus they're one of the lowest calorie options out there, so it's wonderful. Also, I'm a Neanderthal. I air fry my bread because I don't have a toaster. I don't feel like buying a toaster. The air fryer is fine. I mean, it does make the bread kind of fly everywhere. It's kind of hilarious, especially if you butter them, but whatever, that's what we do. The assembly is as simple as can be. We're just adding egg directly on. Now, in this video, I forgot to add cheese because I ran out of cheese, but usually in this recipe, I add 1 slice of Velveeta cheese. Velveeta cheese, you can find them anywhere from like 35 to 40 calories a slice. They taste great. They're single. You put them right on the bread. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I ate this one without cheese. It was just as fine, but come on, you know, cheese makes everything better. We're not going to deny that. So definitely add cheese to this, and I'll make sure the macros are on there with cheese. The only thing after that I did was add a little bit of salt and a little bit of chive just to kind of spruce it up a bit. Now, like I mentioned before, I did add ketchup to it, but you know, be sparing with the ketchup, or just go with hot sauce. Hot sauce is also a really good option as well. And just like that, you have open face egg sandwiches, or whatever the fuck you want to call them. On 2 slices of bread with 2 eggs and 2 slices of cheese, you're looking at 280 calories and 22 grams of protein for the entire breakfast. That is an excellent fuel thing. You'll have protein, which will keep you full until lunch or dinner. A little bit of carbs will give you some energy there, so if you're going to the gym. Obviously, if you want more carbs, I would suggest maybe adding some fruit to this meal. But it's a great start to get your day kind of kick-started. Assuming that kept you full and you've made your way to lunch, let's make some lunch. Now for lunch, I like to do what's kind of like a taco bowl. I know diets tend to lean towards chicken, but personally, I like to switch it up. Ground beef would have been my thing recently, plus ground beef offers a lot of other vitamins and nutrients as well, which I want for myself right now. For these next 2 meals, you're gonna be incorporating ground beef, but obviously you can do other things, tailor to yourself. Like we said, this is just a template. You gotta make changes to fit you. So what I usually do for my lunch and my dinners, that I usually cook about a pound of meat that I go into separate into both meals. For me, a pound of meat is fine for 2 meals. Now, obviously you might be bigger than me, you might be different. Just for the sake of this, 1 pound of meat divided in half. But I'm cooking it all at once because it also saves me time, because I can just cook it once. I can use that 1/2 for lunch immediately and then save the other half for dinner later. That's just easier for me, so that's what I'm suggesting to you. So first we're gonna start with our hot pan, putting in the pound of meat and going away and kind of breaking that up and adding the seasonings. I went with this butter herb seasoning. I think it's fantastic. You can use taco seasoning. You can use whatever seasoning you want, but that's what I like. I like kind of like a buttery texture to my meat. Pause. Now, what's important here is the type of meat. I go with a 93.7. What that means is 93% meat, 7% fat. Now, they do make leaner cuts. If it's leaner, it's gonna be less calories. I think 93.7 is the sweet spot because you still get some of that flavor from the fat while still keeping it pretty low in calories. I think a pound of 93.7 is somewhere around like 600 to 700, which is great for splitting for 2 meals. Remember, the intent here is to keep the calories low because the only way we can lose weight is to be in a caloric deficit. However, we still want to enjoy our meals. So finding sweet spots is a key goal. Besides seasoning, the only other thing I tend to add is kind of like frozen peppers and onions. Guys, frozen vegetables is the same as fresh vegetables in the sense of their nutrient density. And obviously fresh vegetables are nice, but frozen ones last longer, which is easier for me. I can buy 2 great value bags at Walmart and they'll last me for a couple weeks. That's kind of the most what I ask for. We got to make things easier for ourselves when it comes to these diets. The easier a diet is to kind of follow, the more likely you are to keep it going. Now, personally, I like cooking my meat well done. Obviously, everyone's gonna be different in that, but I like it well done. It's just kind of where I've come from. Don't make fun of me. Get out of here. Don't actually get out of here until the end of the video. But once the meat's cooked up, then we can start assembling our bowl. Once again, the camera did me dirty by not focusing, but the assembly of this is really simple. We start with shredded lettuce. I don't count the shredded lettuce because it's lettuce, just water, maybe a little bit of fiber. Who cares? Helps you digest. The next important part here is rice. Now, I use minute rice. Some people are divided. They don't like using instant rice. They like making rice in the rice cooker. It's fresher, it's stickier, whatever. I don't have the time or patience. And that's coming from someone who grew up on rice in a Colombian household. But for me, minute instant rice is fine. 1 serving is 1/2 cup and it takes 3.5 minutes in the microwave. So I do 1/2 cup, 3.5 minutes in the microwave. You can't beat this. You're gonna go ahead and add your rice, and hopefully my camera will actually focus at this point. I really should do a better job of making sure the camera is focused, but whatever, we learn our lessons. Now I come in with a little bit of medium classic salsa. Salsa is a nice way to get a lot of flavor and texture with pretty low calories. Being that it's just mostly vegetables, you're really not gonna have a hard time adding too many calories to it. I usually go with about, I'd say maybe 3 to 4 teaspoons. That's just me. After the salsa, you're gonna go ahead and add your meat. I think you can see my dogs kind of coming through the video, it's hilarious. And the only thing I'm adding this, and something I'm adding for a little bit of flavor is this Tabasco sweet and spicy sauce. Now, here's something I want to point out here. I feel like oftentimes when we find recipes on the internet, what we see on the video and what we see when we actually make the dish don't look the same. And I feel like a lot of us equate that to maybe just improper skill or inexperience. But I also think a lot of the time it's because the ingredients don't line up to the portion that they say. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not adding the sauces to the list when I talk about the macros. The reason for that is that I have experience making these dishes a couple of times. And it's not a failure of technique, it's that I've just changed the portions a little bit because I know what my body can handle and my body needs in order to kind of fulfill its goals. So the recipe might call, for example, for like a cup of sauce, but you see in the video the person does a 1.5 cups of sauce. That's because they understand that it's not going to make or break their goals, but you might need time to figure out what you can move and when. So don't get discouraged if the plate doesn't look the same. The idea here is important to understand foundationally how these meals should be constructed. Once you have a foundation understanding of how meals are supposed to be constructed in order for them to be macro friendly, then you can start making the changes that you want. For me, I know that I can add this much Tabasco sauce without it messing up the entire meal. You're also gonna see me add some sour cream. Sour cream tends to be a little bit higher in calories compared to some of the other ingredients on here. So I have to be careful of that, or else I'm gonna go over the calories that I want, and I don't wanna do that. But I've been making this meal enough times where I know I can get away with it. And realistically, I shouldn't need that sour cream, but I want it. Or I should find an alternative. But again, that's all I'm trying to point out, is that sometimes it's discouraging when you see that these bowls don't come out as cool as they do online. That's the other thing. Sometimes they just change the ingredients just for the aesthetics of the video. I did it for the aesthetics of my taste buds. You have a taco bowl that is massive. That is a massive bowl of food that I have on there. The entire bowl is 612 calories and 54 grams of protein. I dare anyone to eat this bowl and not feel full afterwards. Unless you're like a 7-foot giant who needs to eat that much, most people are going to be very full and satisfied with this. The high protein is going to keep you full. The low calorie makes it so you have so much room for dinner and other things. And that leads us to dinner. Like I mentioned before, I cooked an entire pound of meat. Half of it went to this bowl. The other half's gonna go to dinner. Now, you could obviously make the same exact thing again, but I'm someone who likes a little bit of variety. So this is what I like to do with the second half of my meat. I'm saying my meat way too much. It's making me feel weird. So I like to fold my stuff up into a tortilla. Extreme Wellness makes tortillas. I think they're like 70 calories a piece. I just checked. They're 50 calories, even better. And I'll basically take similar ingredients. So like your lettuce, your salsa, and things like that. But instead of eating with rice, replace it with tortilla. That difference of texture just makes it a little more variety for me, makes it a lot more fun for my palate. The only other thing I really did in this one is I introduced mozzarella cheese. Now I know, for taco-based things, cheddar cheese is usually superior. However, I like mozzarella cheese. Also, that's what I have. And sometimes you gotta make compromises for yourself. So back up. Also, I use this thing called a crumpet. It kind of is just a thing where you put tortillas in it and you fold it in half and it creates little ridges. You don't obviously have to do that. I'm bougie and I wanted one of these. It does make it really fun though, I ain't gonna lie. So they're not sponsored, but like you should try it. I don't think I have to teach you how to assemble a goddamn burrito. You just add your lettuce, your cheese, your meat, and your sauce, and then you're done. Now, there's another thing I want to show you, and that's a little secret weapon of this meal, and it's a sauce, a sriracha ranch sauce, if you will. Greek yogurt is one of the easiest ways to make beautiful sauces that are high in protein and low in calories. Yogurt is very manipulatable. It allows you to do many Basically, yogurt is something that you can turn into something else. For this, all I take is about 60 grams of Greek yogurt, add a bunch of sriracha, and just mix it up. And you basically make like a sriracha ranch. Bonus points if you have ranch seasoning, you can add a little bit of ranch seasoning to this and really make it a sriracha ranch. But I kind of like the yogurt creaminess of it, so I just do sriracha and just yogurt. That's how it works for me. Look at that cross section. You get this wonderful, wrapped, dense meal for a total of 556 calories and 76 grams of protein. By the way, that's including the sauce. This is the only one that includes the sauce. You remove the sauce, you can have like another like 60 calories back. A stunning dinner. And here's the beautiful thing about these 3 meals all together. It's about 1,500 calories and 150 grams of protein. Now here's the thing. I am not suggesting anyone here should only eat 1,500 calories a day. In fact, that was purposely 1,500 calories because now you have a couple more calories to play with. Now, usually the rule of thumb when you're trying to lose weight is that you want to be in a caloric deficit of about 500 calories from your maintenance. That's like if you're trying to lose a pound a week. You should not try to lose any more than a pound a week. And a pound a week is actually going to be on its own kind of tough until you're used to it. My suggestion, if you're trying to lose weight, is find out what your maintenance is using a TDEE calculator. Then from there, slowly take away calories each week until you're hitting a daily 500 in terms of a deficit. That way, it's not so jarring. I feel like it's really difficult for people to kind of just jump into taking away 500 calories from their daily intake, especially if they're not used to tracking it. That is what's difficult. By having it being 1,500 calories, you now have a couple hundred calories to play with potentially. For me, I'm trying to eat 1,800 calories right now to lose about a pound a week. That gives me 300 calories to do things. That gives me 300 calories to play around with. Playing around should not just be eating whatever. Remember, you still have to make sure it's like 300 calories. But it allows me to eat, for example, a bunch of fruit if I'm having a sweet tooth. Eat some more yogurt that's more like on the sweet side. Maybe it allows me to do things like add that sour cream that I mentioned before. Or maybe you can add a little more cheese to one of those one time. It just gives you the freedom to feel like you're still kind of eating what you want without it just being so damaging. Because in this situation, this is 3 meals for 1,500 calories. So if you want a snack in the middle of the day, even if that snack is one of those like small single servings of like Doritos, those bags are usually under 200 calories. You can have that safely and still be in your calorie deficit goals, because you should never demonize any food. There is no such thing as bad food. It's just whether or not food in abundance is good in the context of your weight loss or nutrition goals. So what I'm hoping is that with these 3 meals, it kind of creates a just a jump off of you, where you can, again, pick and choose things that you want. Maybe you like these meals, but you decide, you know what, instead of ground beef, I'm going to do ground turkey. The idea of these meals is that they're very plug and play, and then you can kind of make these changes very seamlessly. Maybe when not egg sandwich, you go, you know what, I like having 2 slices of cheese. I really like cheese. Well, then there you go. You can add 2, because the math will be very simple for you to kind of remove or add. That is the beauty of dieting. Once you have the skill set and tools and knowledge of what you're supposed to do, you're able to really manipulate it to your own lifestyle. Well, anyways, I hope this video helped. I hope it makes you feel a little more confident going into your nutrition goals. Like I said, for me, it was trial and error. When I first started, I was dog shit at figuring this stuff out. Failing constantly was very frustrated. And I didn't have the tools that I wish I did. So that's all I'm trying to be, is a tool for you to figure out your nutrition goals. Until next time. Mwah.